Hi, I'm Allick Delancy. I'm a psychologist working in the field of mental health and education. And today's topic is how can I change my child's problem behaviors with behavioral rehearsal. So keep in mind the statements made here are based on my personal views or opinion as well as research I will have done for this video. This video is based on my personal desire to bring to consumers the science behind mental health, behavior modification, and education. So today's topic we'll be looking at it is how can I change my child's problem behaviors with behavioral rehearsal. Now this is a really good topic because think of this situation. Maybe you know of a child, probably you're a classroom teacher, or maybe you are a parent, and in your presence, here's this child who may be involved in screaming. So it's like uncontrollable screaming, or probably tantrum behaviors, throwing themselves on the ground, throwing themselves maybe against a wall, and really causing a disturbance. Maybe this is happening in the classroom, possibly it's happening at home, maybe if you're the parent and you take the child out maybe to the grocery store or something of that sort, the child really screams and engages in either grabbing things from off the shelf and throwing it on the ground. So in addition to this, we can have children who struggle with communicating effectively using their words so as to actually state or say what they actually want. So they may point at something, maybe point at this, point at that, and they may appear to become really frustrated or annoyed when we are not able to actually understand what they are seeking or what they are trying to obtain. Here we also have children who might be quite aggressive, so involved in a lot of fighting and maybe scratching or scraping other children, or maybe even doing that to themselves. And you may find it really difficult to calm such a child down. Now, here's where behavioral rehearsal can be used to significantly reduce the problem behavior. In some cases, it may even eliminate or make extinct the problem behavior. In other cases, it will significantly reduce the problem behavior. Now, behavioral rehearsal, it is backed by science, it's backed by research, and it has been used in a number of situations in the classroom as well as with parenting. So it's really a good technique that can be definitely used. Now, exactly what is behavioral rehearsal? Now, it is really a technique that is used by therapists or by trainers, and here the individual is given the opportunity to practice in the presence of the therapist or practice in the presence of the trainer. So this technique, while it's used in therapy or used in a sort of training or coaching setting, it's definitely a technique that can be adopted by parents. It can be used by classroom teachers to really bring about effective either parent-child relationship or maybe classroom management. It could be used as a technique in classroom management. The goal rather is to improve the performance of the behavior and to really give the person an opportunity to perform in a setting that you can have a spillover effect in a real life setting. So that's why behavioral rehearsal is so important. Now, here's how it typically works. I'm going to give at least 5 areas that can explain how behavioral rehearsal can actually work. So the first one has to do with identifying the target behavior. We must know exactly what behavior we're trying to either increase or decrease. So we're looking at, for example, are we trying to improve the child's ability to be more assertive, or probably helping the child to complete classroom tasks? Maybe it's an assignment that they're working on in the classroom, having them complete it in a timely manner. Maybe giving them 20 minutes to complete the task and trying to train them or help them to increase the likelihood, or to increase the time spent on the task during that 20 minutes actually doing something effectively. So is that the problem behavior that we're trying to target? They're not completing assignments in a timely manner? Or another identification of a target behavior could be social interactions. So that could be another target behavior. Maybe the child is experiencing some real challenges in socializing effectively. Possibly it's not always clear what they're trying to communicate with other students or with other children, or maybe even you as a parent or the teacher. It's not quite clear when they're trying to interact, when they're trying to socialize, exactly what it is they need. So in this case, the target behavior will be helping them to use their words or maybe their body language in a way that truly communicates what they need. If it's something tangible they need, or possibly if they need to avoid a specific task, probably not engage in it right now, maybe they need to escape it. So the objective of the first point is to really identify what the target behavior is that you want the student or the child to engage in, either to increase that behavior or to decrease that behavior. So it must be clear. Do you want them to be more assertive, more communicative with their verbal language, or probably you want them to not engage in any kind of aggressive behaviors, but to wait until you come to them and then they can explain what they want, or perhaps you want them to increase in the time that they spend on a specific task. So you want to have that behavior clear in mind when seeking to engage in behavioral rehearsal. The second point has to do with you want to set clear objectives. And here's where you want to establish exactly what the behavior will look like. You don't want to be abstract, you want to be as clear as you can. So you want to include specific actions and desired outcomes. So either you want at the end of the behavioral rehearsal, you want the child to be able to say no. Let's say you want them to be more assertive. You want them to say, no, I don't want this, I want that. I am not going to do what you want me to do, but I'm going to do this instead. So maybe you want them to be more assertive and to use their language more effectively. Or maybe you want them to complete tasks. And maybe it's a class assignment, maybe it's mathematics, so it's a comprehension, or possibly it's social studies or geography or something of that sort. And you want them to complete it within, let's say, 20 or 25 minutes. So you really have to be clear as to exactly what you want them to achieve. So that's the second point. The third point, point number 3, has to do with role playing. Of course, it's behavioral rehearsal. So there has to be some kind of rehearsal. So here it is, you engage in role playing. So we have already identified what the target behavior is. We also have clear objectives so that the child will know when or what they are expected to do. And now you want to role play. So here's where the individual teacher or parent or even the therapist, or maybe it's a trainer, you're listening to this, maybe you're a trainer, and you want to engage in some scenarios. So you want to create some scenarios that the child can practice the target behavior. So maybe if the target behavior is, let's say, being assertive, you want the child to practice in a scenario. Maybe you give them a scenario. Maybe a stranger walks up to them and says, come with me in a vehicle. So you want them to practice saying, no, I'm going to tell on you, leave me alone. So maybe that's the assertiveness you want them to practice. So you want to create the situation where you pretend either you are in a car driving up to them and saying to them, come in the car. And you want to have them practice saying no. You want to have them even create distance so that they can get away from a dangerous situation or a potential dangerous situation. Maybe it's in the case of you want them to practice using their words more effectively. So you role play, you create a scenario where you have some dialogue with them. And this will, of course, it has to be as real as possible because you want to simulate a real life situation. So you engage them in some dialogue and see how they perform. Now, the fourth area that we'll be focusing on in behavioral rehearsal has to do with feedback. And this is a really important step. Now, as a teacher, a parent, or a therapist, you need to provide constructive feedback to the individual with regards to their performance. That is critical, that is key. Now, this often starts with some kind of positive reinforcement, of course, because you want the person to feel that they can accomplish the task or the target behavior. And so you want to tell them what definitely they did well first. So maybe you highlight 2 or 3 points indicating what they did well and you give them as feedback. And of course, after that, you should give them something that they can do or work on in order to improve. So here it is. You will either give them 2 or 3 positive things that they did well, and then you look at maybe 2 or 3 things, or if there are more things that they have to work on, you suggest it to them, you give it to them, and you have them engage in the activity of the role playing once more. And this is where the 5th point comes in. You have them repeat and refine the steps of moving from where they are to where you want them to be. So the 5th point is repetition and refinement. In this step, the individual repeats the behavior multiple times, and they incorporate the feedback and they make the necessary adjustments so as to improve. This is really, really important. And once the individual went through these 5 steps, then these are the steps for behavioral rehearsal. And as I said before, it can be in any behavior that you want the person to engage in. Either you want them to increase in a positive behavior or you want them to decrease a negative behavior. So you engage in behavioral rehearsal. Remember that behavioral rehearsal can be used by teachers, by parents, by therapists, by trainers, by coaches, as it allows the individual to really gain confidence and competency in the behavior that you want them to achieve or you want them to engage in on a consistent basis. And in a setting where it is safe and supportive, this can really help the individual to achieve that behavior that is set as a goal for them. So again, we looked at the topic of how can I change my child's problem behaviors with behavioral rehearsal. I hope that this video was informative. If it was, please like and share it with someone that you may know. So take care and I'll see you in the next video. All the best.